There are many ways to take advantage of Capital One's $300 travel credit, but I think this way tops them all, and that is to use the travel credit on the Premier Collection. And in this video, I hope to share with you the power of booking a Premier Collection along with my experience using it and going through the benefits and staying at a Porsche themed room. So with Capital One, you have two options, the Premier Collection or the Lifestyle Collection. The Premier Collection is going to be more of the upper end, the top tier hotels. For this, you'll get 10x miles per dollar spent on these hotels, $100 amenity credit that can be used on multiple things on the property, usually the front desk will tell you, free breakfast for 2 people, which usually just encompasses a credit that is good enough for 2 people. You don't actually have to have 2 people to use the credit. A room upgrade if it's available, and complimentary Wi-Fi. And of course, if it's available, early check-in or late checkout, which can be really powerful. Versus the Lifestyle Collection, you'll have really similar benefits, just a little bit less. So you'll still earn the 10x miles per dollar spent on these hotels. You'll get the early check-in, late checkout if it's available. Usually it doesn't extend as long as the Premier Collection because the Premier Collection will usually give you a late checkout of 4 o'clock versus the Lifestyle Collection, it's usually around 2 o'clock. Also with Lifestyle Collections, there is an opportunity if it's available to get room upgrades, and usually they aren't as powerful as the Premier Collection. The Premier Collection, they usually were able to give you a nicer upgrade versus a Lifestyle Collection. Usually it's not as nice. I think the biggest difference that you can see between the Premier Collection and the Lifestyle Collection is, the Premier Collection gave you that $100 hotel amenity credit versus the Lifestyle Collection only gives you $50. And of course, the Lifestyle Collection does give you complimentary Wi-Fi. So actually booking the Premier Collection, you want to start on CapitalOneTravel.com. But before you can continue, you do have to log into your Capital One account because Venture X card members are the only ones that can see the Premier Collection or the Lifestyle Collections. Once you're in, it looks like any other standard travel portal. And if you see on the top there, it says that you have the $300 travel credit available and the credits will be applied at checkout. And then there are 4 tabs. You got flights, hotels, car rentals, and premium stays. Premium stays is exactly if you're just wanting to use your credit on the Premier Collection or the Lifestyle Collection, that's where you're going to have to start. However, if you're open to seeing all your hotel options, you can just stay on the hotel travel page. Before you even start looking for a Premier Collection hotel, my recommendation, and I've only seen it with Capital One, is to click on this wallet icon and make sure there's no discounts that you're missing out on. When I'm booking this hotel, there were actually quite a bit of travel offers, so I got 5 of them, one for Montana, New Zealand, Australia, Cayman Islands, and just a general 20% back cash back up to $1,000 on your next booking. And I'm going to take advantage of that. So it's always good to check your travel offers, especially if you're pretty flexible on your travel. And to begin, you want to type in the destination that you're planning on going. So I wanted to go to Atlanta, Georgia. Then select your dates. And it's really interesting because Capital One's travel portal, out of all the credit card travel portals, is the only one I've actually seen do this. So the green sections is on average when the hotel stays are usually cheaper. And then it grows from green to red being the highest. However, you have to be careful with this because it's overall on average. If you're wanting to book a specific hotel, I would definitely check certain dates instead of just relying on this chart. So select those dates, how many people are traveling with you. I have 2 adults, 0 children, just 1 room. Click search. And then it will show you every single hotel that's available in the portal. And then the ones that are the Premier Collection, the ones that give the benefits on top of the stay itself, will be highlighted in this dark blue, and on the upper right hand side, it will say Premier Collection. However, if you wanted to just sort by Premier Collection or Lifestyle hotels, towards the top left hand side under the destination, it'll have this little tab that says Premium Stays. If you wanted to just see those, then you would just toggle that on. But the hotel I want to stay at is right here, the Nobu Hotel in Atlanta. After you find the hotel that you want to book, go ahead and click on that hotel, and then it'll send you to the overview page. Lots of pictures that you could go through if you wanted to. And then if you want to scroll around the page, they'll have a bunch of other descriptions, especially if you're looking for something specific. Maybe you want a 24-hour fitness center, a concierge service. Maybe you want the hotel to be near a shopping site, which this one was. And on the right, it will show you the price per night, along if you want to use miles to pay for this. And then we get to the actual rooms page. So these are all the rooms that are available at the Nobu Hotel. And I wanted to make this stay a little bit special. If you didn't know, Atlanta houses the headquarters for Porsche. And because of that, Nobu and Porsche partnered together to make this Porsche style room. And I really want to experience that. Even though it's a little bit more per night, I think it's a worthwhile experience. So after you selected which room you want to stay at, just click on continue, and then we're routed to the checkout page. And here you'll be asked who the primary traveler is, along with your contact information. And then on the right side, it will show you exactly what you should be expecting to be paying for this day. And also you'll be seeing the credits applied to this total. So as you see right here, it has the Venture X, the $300 being taken off of the complete total of $466.77. So making a total after the travel credit $166.77. And in case you're wondering why the price looks different from the last page, is because of taxes and fees. But let's go ahead and finish this booking. So when you scroll down a little bit further, you'll be in the payment section. At the payment section towards the top, it does show that you do have to book the Premier Collection with the Venture X. You can't use any other credit card for this booking if you want those benefits. And then underneath, it has applied my travel offer. So my travel offer, 20% cash back up to $1,000. It has my travel credit of $300 applied. And then if you wanted to, you could apply your Venture X points towards this booking and you'll be getting 1 cent per point. So it's not that bad if you're just wanting to cash out your points anyways, but definitely a travel transfer partner is going to give you more value. And of course, the actual payment method, the Venture X. Also, you see right here towards the bottom, it does have free cancellations until December 27th. And when I was booking this day, it was for December 28th. So free cancellation basically 24 hours before your reservation. So that's one thing I really like about these benefits. It's fairly flexible and just overall very convenient. A couple policies you should definitely go through when you're booking your hotel, and then just click on confirm and book. It's one of the easiest credits to use on a luxury travel credit card. And now let's head to the hotel, and I think you're going to enjoy this room. So here are the benefits for the Capital One Premier. So we got here the experience credit. It's $100. You can use it anywhere at the restaurant, bar, minibar, parking, in-room dining, and in-room movie charges, which, you know, is the things you can buy on the TV. You also get daily breakfast for two up to $76, $38 per person. A little bit weird, but you know, what it is, what it is. It's almost $80, so it's a pretty good amount. You get access to the complimentary Wi-Fi, one tier room upgrade if it's available. Now, I did book this Porsche room, so it was a little bit hard because the only tier that was above this room was the suite, and unfortunately they didn't have that available. They do have early check-in if it's available, but since this room was more of a specialty room, it wasn't available until 3 o'clock. But they did give me a late checkout of 4 p.m., so that was pretty cool. And what was actually really interesting, I don't know if this is for every Capital One property, but they did list as one of the benefits of booking through the Capital One portal was you get a welcome amenity. And those weren't like the most expensive thing. It was just a couple of chocolates, 2 pieces of chocolates. They were nice, but it was like, you know, all right, maybe like 50 cents each, right? And just a little survey about your stay and everything. So pretty cool. So for the hotel amenity credit, we just ended up using it on dinner. There wasn't actually too many things that you could use at this hotel. Maybe buy a candle, but there wasn't any spa. Maybe you can use it on parking, but it's kind of limited. And for dinner, we did in-room dining. We did try to actually go into the restaurant, but the reservations, we didn't make one. They didn't have any tables available until 9 p.m. that night, and they closed at 10. So we didn't think it was worth it, and we tried to reserve or try to get in around 6 o'clock, so pretty busy. The in-room dining was pretty easy. All you had to do is just pick up the phone, and then they have a little button for in-room dining. You just go ahead and click on that. You call and say, hey, I'm in room 701, right? And I'm dining for 2 people, and then you just tell them what you want. And in about 30 or 40 minutes, whatever time they estimated that they'll arrive, they'll just come up, usually with a tray with all your food on it. They'll knock on the door and say, can I come in? You say yes. They bring in all the food, ask you where you want to sit it. We just had to sit down right here on this table. They give you the check to look over, and they do most of the time for many hotels that they include a service charge, which should count as the tip. If you want a tip on top of that, that's up to you. But for in-room dining, it is really that simple. If you do end up eating at the restaurant, all you have to do on that receipt is make sure that you charge it to the room so that the hotel credits will count and it'll be taken off your bill. Do not pay for the check using a credit card or cash or any other method. But if you do in-room dining, when you're done with everything, you can go ahead and send it to the hallway and then pick up the phone and call them back again and say, hey, we're finished with everything. You can take the stuff if you want. And same thing for breakfast. Now, we did try to go into the restaurant, not as hard this time, but we woke up really late. It was close to the closing time for breakfast, and the breakfast credit only works on breakfast, so we decided to just call in-room dining. Now, I will warn you, not everywhere includes the breakfast for in-room dining. Some places only allow you to use that restaurant credit in their restaurant, so definitely make sure and check that out. But breakfast was the same deal. We got an omelet, we got an eggs benedict, and we got a yogurt parfait along with a genmai cha with matcha apparently. And it was a pretty good stuff. However, I will say that a lot of the stuff here is actually fairly expensive for, I don't believe that, you know, it was nice, but it wasn't like amazing. And for dinner, my wife ordered a lobster and a side of rice, and I ordered some sort of chicken teriyaki, which was about like 40 bucks, pretty expensive. They charge for water and sparkling water, so definitely make sure and double check that because a lot of places do include it, but apparently not here. And we also got a cheesecake, which wasn't that great. It was all right. But how about the room itself? Because this is a Porsche branded room. And it's really interesting. I don't think it's worth the cost unless you're really into the Porsche stuff and you're willing to pay the extra $50 to $100 depending on when they have this room. The only things that I believe that are really unique about this room is they do have a couple Porsche things. They had this like Porsche design speaker, which is actually fairly nice. The sound isn't that great of it, but you know, whatever. But they do have this gigantic speaker bar above the bed that has the back of the exhaust of the Porsche, I believe. That is literally the view that you have sleeping. It is right above your head. Other than that though, there's a bunch of little artworks all over the room. There's a couple of these specialty books for Porsche, along with this little model of a Porsche made out of wood, which is pretty cool actually. Personally, if I had it my way, I would have loved to see more like Porsche amenities that you could take home with you because there wasn't that much. Now I did see there was a video on the Nobu like hotel or website that they did have some of those special amenities, but after looking at it, I believe that it's only for the Porsche suite. So if you really love Porsche stuff and you're willing to save the money or just go out and spend it, I would definitely recommend staying in the suite over just the regular room. Now that's just talking about the room. How about the hotel as a whole? And it's actually really nice. The lobby is actually, this whole building is just smells really nice for some reason. I know downstairs for $45 you can buy their candle, which is some sort of yuzu scent, and it really is fragrant. But other than that, it's just kind of a basic luxury hotel. There isn't a spa like I mentioned earlier, so you can't use your hotel amenity credit on that. There's a pretty nice rooftop pool. It's pretty decent. It's closed for the season, so I wasn't able to try that out. And of course, what this chain is famous for is the Nobu restaurant, which we tried some of their food. Wasn't our favorite, but it was all right. But yeah, other than it being across from the Phillips Mall, which is kind of a fancier mall, there's not too much in this hotel, which, you know, is completely fine. You want the room experience to be good. The service in general at this hotel is all right. We did have a really cool driver in-house car service.
Yo, that's pretty sick. What's your name, sir?
I'm Darren.
Darren?
Yes, sir.
With you, this car is that much more amazing.
Thank you, sir. Right, thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Gentlemen.
Both Porsche cars that they will drive you around in a 3-mile radius is completely free, and it was the newest model that gets sent directly from the headquarters, so it was pretty cool. Both of them were electric. One was an SUV and one was like kind of a sports car, so it's been pretty cool. But how about that checkout experience? So what can I say? It was basically the same as any other checkout experience, except that you're gonna get a receipt and you make sure that you definitely go through that receipt. Everything looked fine, everything looked correct. So if you see here on the receipt, they do have the amenity charge of $100 taken off the bill. They did breakfast a little bit differently than what I'm used to, so they ran the charge through and then whatever was remaining after the breakfast charges was charged onto the hotel bill. So there was no need to see any discounts off the bill. As long as that amount looks correct, you should be good to go. Otherwise, we did get our late checkout. We just headed to the parking garage and then we just headed out. So yeah, I hope I made you at least consider using the travel credit towards the premier collection of hotels. There's definitely a lot of value to be had, especially comparing it to your other options like rental cars and flights, because you don't get anything extra on top of that credit. Plus, you know, with a lot of flights, it's actually better to book with points rather than cash alone. And in general, I think a lot of these hotels offer a once in a lifetime experience that you can't experience just at any normal hotel. Plus also a lot of those benefits help alleviate your wallet. Personally, when I travel, I've actually noticed a lot of my cost that goes into traveling isn't from the hotels or flights because a lot of times they're covered by points. It's usually the meals and the things after. But yeah, that was the Premier Collection. I hope that helped you out and I'll see you later.